A man said to his wife, "You look beautiful in blue." She said, "Oh, you think I look ugly in red." He said, "I love your curves." She said, "You think I'm fat." He said, "They say that gentlemen prefer blondes, but I love your long dark hair." She said, "How often do you think about blondes?" He said, "You sing like a bird." She said, "You mean a crow?" He kept trying to communicate compliments to his wife, and she kept misinterpreting him. And finally, he stopped trying. A group of researchers at the University of Denver put together a program called C-Prep. And in the program, they identify 4 traits that present in almost all failed relationships. Number 2 are strong predictors of divorce. Number 3 are often learned in the home of origin. And number 4 tend to neutralize all the good that may exist in that relationship. Those 4 traits are escalation, invalidation, negative interpretation, and withdrawal. We're going to focus now on negative interpretation or misinterpretation. The next deadly relationship sin is misinterpretation. Negative interpretation is associated with major depressive disorder and anxiety. Clinicians like myself recognize that it's the way we think about situations that ultimately determines how we feel about situations. To some degree, the circumstances that we encounter in life are kind of neutral and up to us to interpret. Let me give you an example. Someone comes into the school cafeteria and they see a group of friends. As soon as they come into the cafeteria, the friends stop talking. That individual can interpret that situation in one of 3 ways. They can interpret it positively. Well, they stop because they're about to ask me to join the conversation. They can interpret it negatively. Well, they were talking about me. Or they can interpret it neutrally. They finished their conversation. That's why they stopped. What we find is that certain individuals have what we might call a negative bias. They tend to see negativity where no negativity exists. Those people that are negatively biased tend to misinterpret things that other people say, and often to an extreme degree. And then they experience emotional disturbance proportionate to if that was actually true. This can be extremely frustrating for the person being misinterpreted, and it can actually drive that person away to where they just throw their hands up in despair. The replacement for misinterpretation is what I call checking in. Checking in involves seeing if the way you're interpreting that person is actually correct. And that involves active listening that we've talked about in other segments. Active listening is tuning into that person and making sure that you're picking up what they're putting down. One technique that I use in counseling to help people learn active listening in a very simple, kind of concise way is using the acronym EAR. Empathy equals ask and reflect. Good empathic active listening involves 2 basic activities. Asking open-ended questions of that person and giving them an opportunity to express themselves, how they really feel, creating a safe environment in which they can tell the truth about themselves and their feelings. And then also reflecting back to them what you heard them say. So if that individual says, "I love you in blue," you might say, "Well, it seems like you really like it when I wear blue, is that right?" And you've interpreted that person correctly. However, if you're inclined to interpret them negatively, you might say, "Are you saying that I don't look good in other colors?" And that person would have an opportunity then to correct that misconception. No, I'm not saying that at all. I love you in all colors. I just especially like you in blue because it brings out the blue of your eyes, and I love your eyes. It just really pays to check in. So I want to challenge you to do something. I want to challenge you to ask at least 3 people if you tend to interpret negatively, if you tend to put a negative skew on the things that they say to you. And if more than one of them says you do, you got some work to do in learning how to interpret things correctly. Learn how to check in, how to make sure that you're interpreting them the way they want to be interpreted, and use the EAR acronym to make sure that you're listening well.